Welcome to the Deep Dive. We pull from a stack of articles, research, and notes to bring you the most important nuggets of knowledge, helping you get well-informed quickly. Today, we're plunging into, the year 2008. Remember it? It was pretty tumultuous. You had the grinding anxieties of the war on terror still going on. We were right on the brink of that huge financial crisis. Yeah, a moment that really shook faith in corporate power. There was this palpable feeling, of anxiety, of distrust everywhere.
Absolutely palpable. And right in the middle of all that, who does Hollywood give us as a hero? Tony Stark.
Exactly. I mean, he's presented as this narcissistic, self-absorbed billionaire, right? A merchant of death. His whole lifestyle funded by, an ethically bankrupt arms industry.
It seems like such a disconnect, doesn't it? A staggering cultural dissonance, as some put it. Audiences feeling pretty anti-corporate were suddenly supposed to cheer for, like the ultimate symbol of that world.
But they did, and that's the thing. Despite all that, Iron Man was just this resounding success.
Huge success. And it kicked off what's arguably the most dominant movie franchise in modern history. You have to ask, how?
Right, how did they pull that off? We found that the film's real genius seems to lie in its ability to sort of transmute Stark's, his character flaws into heroic virtues.
That's the key, I think. So our mission today in this deep dive is to unpack how the film did that. And the answer seems to point pretty strongly towards a potent and yet controversial ideology. Ayn Rand's objectivism.
Okay, objectivism. So we're going to explore how Iron Man basically dramatizes this philosophy, and in doing that, maybe lay bare some of its perilous political implications, as our research suggested.
Yeah, because it's not just a simple redemption story for Stark, is it? It's framed more like a cinematic masterclass in objectivism. His huge ego isn't the problem. It's reframed as the very engine of his heroism.
So objectivism, could give us the quick definition again?
Sure. Essentially, it's the concept of man as a heroic being, with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productive achievement as his noblest activity, and reason as his only absolute. That's Rand's formulation.
Man as heroic, happiness as purpose, achievement as noble, reason as absolute. Got it. Radical individualism, basically.
Pretty much. Self-interest, creating value through your own mind, your own reason.
Okay, so how does Stark, this playboy billionaire, start on this journey to become the prime mover, as Rand called him? It starts in that cave, right?
Yes, that dusty, primitive cave in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Think about it. He's stripped of everything. The Malibu mansion, the supercars, the whole corporate empire. Gone.
He's left with just his mind.
Exactly. The one asset Rand valued above all else, that cave sequence. It's almost a perfect allegory for the objectivist worldview.
How so?
Well, Rand wrote, "The mind is an attribute of the individual. There is no such thing as a collective brain. The primary act, the process of reason, must be performed by each man alone." And Stark is utterly alone in that cave.
Forced to rely purely on his intellect to survive.
Precisely. And that's where he transforms. He becomes the classic Randian creator, the prime mover. He faces reality. Rand called it existence exists. He perceives it, and then he uses his, let's face it, exceptional intellect and reason to produce.
He produces the arc reactor to save his own life.
And the Mark I suit to win his freedom, that's productive achievement in action, bending the world to his will through the power of his mind. He's the objectivist hero embodied right there.
And what about his captors, the Ten Rings? How do they fit into this objectivist framework?
They're cast as the opposites, the parasites, the looters. They can't create anything themselves. They have to live secondhand, taking what others produce using force.
And the irony is they're using Stark's own weapons against him.
Exactly. Which highlights the film's early critique, actually, of an uncontrolled arms industry where the creator's products fall into the hands of looters.
Okay, let's talk about Yinsen. His death feels very sacrificial, very noble in a traditional sense.
It does. But if you look at it through what our sources called a colder, more rational objectivist lens, it shifts. His dying words, "Don't waste it, don't waste your life." They're not necessarily a plea for Stark to be altruistic.
What are they then?
They're interpreted as a charge for Stark to live for himself, to fulfill his potential as a creator. In this view, Yinsen isn't just sacrificing, he's making a calculated trade.
A trade. That sounds harsh.
It does, but the logic is he trades his own life, which he sees as forfeit anyway, for the survival of a prime mover. Stark's someone capable of immense productive achievement, someone who could change the world. It's seen as a rational investment in a higher, more productive value.
Wow. Okay, that's a very different way to see that scene. So Stark is the creator hero. Who's the real villain from this objectivist standpoint? It's not just the terrorists, is it?
No, the true villain, the embodiment of the Randian antagonist, is Obadiah Stane.
His business partner, Weiss Stane.
Because Stan is the second-hander. He's the one who envies the creator's ability. Stark's genius, and he tries to expropriate it, to steal it, through manipulation, through corporate politics, through force eventually.
He can't innovate himself.
Precisely. He can't invent a better arc reactor. He can only try to take Stark's. That's the key difference.
And that leads to that great confrontation where Stane basically says, what was the line?
Do you really think that just because you have an idea, it belongs to you? Chilling. And that's a direct denial of what Rand held sacred, right? The creator's moral right to the product of their own mind.
Absolutely. So the film's central conflict isn't just good guys versus bad guys. It's a dramatization of Rand's core philosophical battle. The productive individual fighting against the envious parasite, the looter, the second-hander.
Okay, so Stark undergoes this transformation in the cave, powered by his intellect. He gets back home, and then he makes that huge announcement.
Yeah, shocks everyone. Says Stark Industries getting out of the weapons business entirely. Now, on the surface, that looks like, classic altruism. He saw the harm his weapons did. He had a change of heart. He's doing good for the world.
That's the conventional reading, definitely. But if you stick with the objectivist lens, it's framed as the ultimate act of rational self-interest.
How can shutting down your company's main product line be self-interested?
Because Stark isn't sacrificing himself or his company for the common good. He's asserting his moral right as the creator to control his creations. He saw his weapons being used for evil by those looters in Afghanistan, and he withdraws his sanction, his moral approval, from that. He judges it to be evil, so he stops enabling it.
Ah, so it's about his own judgment, his own integrity.
Exactly. This ties right into Rand's controversial book, The Virtue of Selfishness.
Right, where she tried to redefine selfishness.
Yeah, she wanted to reclaim it from meaning just, brutish, predatory evil and redefine it as concern with one's own interests. And for Rand, when that self-interest is guided by reason, it's the highest virtue. So Stark's decision is profoundly selfish in that specific Randian sense. He's prioritizing his own rational moral judgment and the integrity of his life's work.
Okay, that makes sense within that framework. And remember that line he says to Pepper Potts, I just finally know what I have to do, and I know in my heart that it's right.
Yes, and interpreted through objectivism, that's not just an emotional outburst. It's read as a statement of fealty to his own rational mind as his only moral guide. Trusting his own reasoned judgment above all else, a cardinal virtue for Rand.
It's quite a reframing. What was really clever, too, is how the film dealt with the anti-corporate mood of 2008.
Oh, absolutely. It did this neat trick. It sort of split the capitalist archetype.
How do you mean?
Well, you have Tony Stark, who embodies the idealized Randian producer, the brilliant innovator, the creator of value. But then you have Obadiah Stane.
And he represents?
He represents everything the public. And actually, Rand herself really detested about modern corporate culture. The crony capitalist, the guy who rises through manipulation, backroom deals, who cuts deals with terrorists. He's the parasite within the system.
So Stark is the good capitalist, Stane is the bad capitalist.
Essentially, yes. And that dichotomy was crucial in 2008. Think about it. The financial system is melting down. People are furious at corrupt executives.
Yeah.
And Iron Man gives them this cathartic fantasy.
You get to watch the brilliant innovator, Stark, literally rip the parasitic heart out of his own company.
And destroy Stane, the corrupt executive. It lets the audience cheer for Stark's genius and wealth while simultaneously condemning the corporate corruption embodied by Stane.
The implicit message being,
the problem isn't capitalism itself or individual achievement or wealth. The problem is the looters, the second-handers, the Stanes of the world who corrupted. That's a very objectivist takeaway.
Okay, so Stark has redefined his purpose, dealt with the internal parasite. Now he takes his suit, his creation, out into the world. He goes to Gulmira.
Right, intervenes to destroy the 10 rings who are using his weapons there.
Now, legally speaking, that's just vigilantism, isn't it? Unsanctioned, potentially destabilizing.
From a legal or geopolitical standpoint, absolutely.
Yeah.
But from that objectivist perspective we've been discussing, it's seen as a moral imperative.
How does that work?
The argument is, the state, the government, failed in its only legitimate job, which Rand believed was protecting individual rights, in this case, the rights of the villagers being terrorized with his products. When the state fails, the individual with the capacity to act Stark has not just a right, but maybe even a moral duty to act in his own rational self-interest, which includes stopping the misuse of his creations.
That connects interestingly to the real world at the time, doesn't it? The late 2000s.
Very much so. You had the rise of private military contractors, PMCs like Blackwater, companies taking on roles traditionally held by national armies.
Blurring the lines of who controls violence?
Exactly. And Tony Stark, in this reading, becomes the ultimate PMC. He's a private, arguably for-profit entity. I mean, he funds it all, acting as a one-man army. And who's he accountable to?
Just himself, his own conscience, his own judgment.
And crucially, the film presents this, at least initially, as unambiguously heroic. He swoops in, saves the day, flies off, problem solved.
This idea culminates later, I think it's in Iron Man 2, where he says that line.
Oh yeah, I've successfully privatized world peace. And he flat out refuses to give the suit tech to the government. You want my property, you can't have it.
That sounds like pure Rand.
It's pretty much the core of a Randian foreign policy, if you call it that.
Yep.
It's based on the absolute supremacy of the individual creator and his property rights over the collective, over the state. The government has no moral claim to his intellectual property, his suit.
But this is where we get into the dangerous aspect, as our notes called it.
Yeah, this is where it gets tricky. A world where private individuals, armed with WMD-level tech, operate unilaterally based purely on their own moral calculus. I mean, that sounds like a recipe for global anarchy, doesn't it?
Who holds them accountable? What if two Iron Men decide their rational self-interests are in conflict? Who wins? Who judges?
Exactly. And these are the kinds of criticisms often leveled at Rand's political philosophy. Critics point to a perceived naivete about the complexities of power, about the need for checks and balances, for regulation. They argue that even rational actors can cause catastrophic harm, intentionally or not.
And the film.
The film, at least Iron Man 1, largely sidesteps these issues. Stark's judgment is presented as basically infallible. When he acts, it's the right thing to do, period.
It's interesting, too, how the other characters react. People like Pepper Potts, James Rhodes, they start out skeptical, maybe trying to rein him in.
They do. They're set up as the sort of moral counterweights, the voices of reason or caution. But what happens by the end?
They're working for him, essentially, helping him.
They get assimilated, as one analysis put it. They become essential cogs in his individualist machine. It shows the powerful gravitational pull of this Randian hero archetype. His certainty, his self-defined morality, draws others in.
Okay, so that brings us to the climax, which isn't a big fight, really. It's that press conference.
Right. He's supposed to read this cover story that S.H.I.E.L.D. cooked up, this sort of collectivist deception, keep Iron Man a secret, attribute the events to someone else.
Deny reality, basically.
Which, in objectivism, is a cardinal sin evasion.
Yeah.
But Stark looks at the card, looks at the reporters, and just says,
I am Iron Man.
Boom. That's described as the ultimate objectivist statement. It's a total rejection of evasion. It's an embrace of identity A is A, as Rand constantly stressed. A thing is what it is. He is Iron Man.
He fully fuses his person with the product of his mind. He becomes that ideal Randian man.
Yes. And it's an incredibly powerful, triumphant moment in the film. Iron Man brilliantly forged this compelling hero using these objectivist ideas, the power of the mind, productive achievement, rational self-interest. It worked.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
Always. In its very success, the film becomes, or perhaps reveals, a cautionary tale. That triumphant I am Iron Man. It's both the peak, the apotheosis of the Randian hero, and it's the genesis of the central, unresolved problem that plagues the entire MCU for the next decade.
Which is?
The profound instability of unchecked, unaccountable individual power. Even when wielded by someone initially presented as brilliant and, in his own way, moral.
And we see the fallout almost immediately in the later films.
Oh, yeah. Stark's unilateral I am Iron Man instantly provokes government oversight, attempts to control him. The psychological weight of being this lone, privatized global savior, it leads to severe PTSD.
And his biggest attempt to scale up his individual solution, his greatest act of creation based on his own judgment.
The Ultron program nearly causes human extinction. It backfires catastrophically.
So the core tension that really drives the whole Avengers story, especially through Civil War.
It boils down to what happens when prime movers disagree. What happens when Captain America's rational self-interest conflicts with Iron Man's? Or when one man's grand vision, however rational he thinks it is, threatens everyone else?
It's fascinating how that one film set up so much conflict down the line.
It really did. And the enduring appeal of Iron Man, the original film, is undeniable. It taps right into that powerful, deep-seated American ideal of rugged individualism. It gives us this seductive fantasy, one brilliant, self-made guy cutting through the red tape and just fixing things with his mind and his will.
No committees, no bureaucracy.
Just pure, focused, individual action. It's compelling.
But as Rand's critics warned, and as the MCU itself seemed to demonstrate over time, that vision, its very success, plants the seeds of its own destruction. The hero is forged by his incredible intellect.
But the world, as one writer put it, is left to live in the gilded cage of his magnificent and terrifying ego.
A powerful way to end it. So perhaps something for you, the listener, to think about. When does an individual's pursuit of their own rational self-interest cross a line and become a threat to the collective good? And maybe more importantly, who gets to decide where that line actually is?